Namaste. Today, I wanted to share some thoughts about one aspect of assessment which everyone is possibly quite familiar with. So, this is the notion of MCQ, the acronym for multiple choice questions. This has a lot of fan followers and also a lot of opponents to this idea of MCQ. The reason why people are uncomfortable with MCQ as the main mode of assessment is because it is not, they feel it won't be able to test deeper levels of understanding. It's good for recall and maybe first surface level of understanding. So you can ask for, the capital of a country or what something is called and all that is fine, or some simple, fill in the blank kind of things can also be phrased as MCQ. But can it actually suffice as an examination for a serious subject? So we at NCST had, when we were conducting the courses, for convenience, we wanted to do the examination on a purely MCQ mode. So this included operating systems, computer networks, even AI, data structures, programming. All of this we opted to use simply MCQs as the only mode, as the primary examination mode of it for evaluation. Of course, there are practical components, and the MGPT, which I talked about in an earlier video, was the mode used for the practical component in the programming test. But for all other things, to ensure that theoretically they understand the concepts, etc., we used MCQ. Even then, we found that the pass percentage of an MCQ based examination was 20 to 25% at best. Okay, and whereas typically most MCQ examinations, people do all kinds of things and score 80%, 85%. You can copy from your neighbor, and you can do all that. So there is a lot of literature on MCQ as an evaluation. So the reason why this MCQ as an examination fails is the way in which you test the questions. So I usually tell people that when you do an MCQ based examination, the setting the question is takes time and effort. There is a lot of energy effort required to set a good MCQ question. But evaluation is easier because you only have to choose which is the right option, whether they have chosen B or C or D, and you can evaluate. So it is amenable to automation. But if you want to do a long answer question, write a paragraph or write an essay or whatever, it is very easy to set the questions, right? Write an essay on something, do this thing. So the effort in setting the question is easy for long answer questions, but the evaluation gets much more complicated because you should actually read the answers, understand the students' thinking process, see how it connects with what you wanted them to do, whether they got all the points correct. So evaluation of a long answer question can be a very time consuming process. Whereas for MCQ, evaluation is trivial, but if you want to get a good MCQ, you need to put a lot of time in setting the question right. So first of all is to avoid things which are mostly recall or something which is just what they have mugged up and they want to reproduce. So that's the kind of question we always avoid. We expect the student to solve a problem and use the options to match the answer. Okay, so now this is where the interesting part comes, that the challenge in setting a good MCQ is as much in phrasing the stem of the question as much in choosing the right options. So one advice people do is that you look at what are the possible misconceptions a student might have with respect to the way solving that problem, and every misconception should lead to one of the options there. So if the student believes that the formula is this or he has made this assumption, you would still find an answer which matches his expectation, and you know then that the student actually had this misconception, that is why he chose this option. Usually for convenience, what many people do when setting MCQ is to put the correct answer and put some random, nearby values and things like that. So there is a lot of theory which says that if your options are not very carefully chosen, then you can actually guess the correct answer without even knowing the subject. I mean, the usual hints are the longest option. The option which is longest is usually the one which has got a lot of attention from the paper setter, and that usually is the correct answer. Or the odd one out. If all the 4 options, 3 are odd number and 1 is an even number, most likely that might be an answer. So there are a lot of these, thumb rules people have evolved to guess the correct answer without even understanding what the subject is or what the question is. So these are traps that we should avoid. So your options should be all plausible answers. Okay, they should seem like viable answers that you would get when you're solving the problem. And the possible misconceptions could be trapped there. And so at least an easy way to check out the bad answers should be avoided. So lot of attention is required to do this, and that is what we did when we were doing the MCQ based examination. So they are all conceptual. You need to work out a problem. So for example, given a sequence and you do this, and then what would happen in the nth step is an MCQ question, and you can't guess it unless you actually solve it that way. In an operating system, you can apply a particular scheduling policy on a given set of jobs and then ask when a particular job will get scheduled, for example. So all this requires a lot of working out by the teacher who is setting it to make sure that the answer is actually matching with the right kind of expectations. Make sure that your assumptions are made very explicit in the question stem and not in the options. So if you do a lot of these efforts, you can actually, in my view, you can actually make MCQs as an adequate way to check, the understanding of students in a particular subject. And our PGDST and CCST experience actually stands as proof there, because almost all of them have taken no other exam other than this MCQ based exam. And as I said, the pass rate has been low, which means problem solving, understanding has always been a question there. So it is possible to do that. And then for the concern about copying answers from your neighbor, there are also standard solutions: option scrambling, question scrambling, choosing. For example, you can create 7 or 8 options and choose a random set of options there. So there are various ways of doing that. Of course, they raise their own challenges, because, for example, many questions have none of the above, all of the above. These obviously cannot be scrambled by moving them around, so they are anchored. So you'll say that all of the above should be the last option, or the none of the above should also be the last option. So there are appropriate rules available to make good quality MCQs, which supports these techniques like option scrambling and question scrambling, to avoid cheating and all that. Okay, so just have a little look around where I am currently sitting. I'm sitting near a park. Give you a feel of what is there. So, and then we will end the session, and take care. All the best.